The opinions expressed on the Custody Queen Show are for informational purposes only and are not a substitute for personal, professional legal advice. The persons discussed are fictional and not based on actual clients.
Thought it was love, had kids in between. You can count on us, we're the Custody Queens. Yeah, you can count on us, we're the Custody Queens.
All right, it's Saturday, and Saturday is my favorite day of the week. Why is it, Sam?
Because it's our CQ Radio Day.
Yes, and we get to spend the morning with all of you. So, Sam, who do we have today?
So today we have a very special guest for anyone that hasn't listened before when Dayn has been here. We have Dayn Holstrom. He is a certified family law specialist, owner, and managing partner of Holstrom Block and Park, a extremely experienced family law attorney, and we have something very special to announce.
So, Dayn has a podcast that was recently launched called Divorce Authority. So, we are going to let Dayn tell all of you about his podcast, how it came to be, and what personal experiences he's going to share with us. But before we get there,
we're going to do a little true or false. And Dayn is pretty famous for being on the show, and Kristen and I are pretty excited about it. So we've done some serious research here, and we have 3 questions for Dayn.
But before we start, I just want to say that I love doing this because Dayn is hardly ever wrong with anything.
Except for true or false.
When he gets these wrong, it just kind of, it's like a little happy dance in my head.
Well, I will tell you, one time I thought I was wrong, but I was mistaken.
Well, there was one time when I was studying for the bar, and Dayn would study with me every Wednesday. And when you're studying for the bar, there's MBE questions where they're multi-explanation, best answer or worst answer. So either all are right, and you have to pick the most right, or all are wrong, and you have to pick the least wrong. And Dayn would tell me the answer sometime, and I'd say, well, no, the answer says it's C. It's right here. And he'd be like, that book is wrong. That book is wrong. You need a new study guide. So, yes.
And back in the day, remember when multiple choice was actually like easy?
Yeah.
When you're like in elementary school?
That was, yes. And then for the bar, it was anything but easy.
That was the hardest part.
Those people who write those questions are sick. They're just sick in the head. So, all right, well, let's get to it, Sam.
All right, so I'm going to give the first question to Dayn. Dayn, Gorilla's blood type is all B.
Okay, first off, I want the audience to know that you guys spent like 10 minutes haranguing me knowing that I would get this wrong. So therefore, I'm going to try a new tactic.
Okay.
And I'm going to choose my answer and give you the opposite one.
Okay.
All right? True.
Gosh darn it, he actually
You're
got
right.
it right.
Whoa.
Whoa. But see, I have pleasure knowing in my head that he really thought it was false.
Yes, that's fair. He did play his cards there.
He should have given that disclaimer because then I would have thought he actually got it right. All right, Dayn, here's another one. New Zealand has more sheep than people.
Well, how do you mean sheep?
I mean sheep, those
Spoken
four-legged,
like true
farm animals.
All right. I'm going to do the same method and say true.
Yes.
Darn it.
Uh-oh. We're in trouble here. We're going to have to come up with a new game.
All right, come on, Sam. You got to get him here.
All right, number 3.
No hat trick.
Yeah, we can't give him a hat trick. All right, a regular internet user has 3 social media accounts.
What the heck's a regular?
Like, on average, any human
that
uses social media only has 3 accounts.
Only 3 or at least 3?
Has
Come on,
3.
define it better. Come on.
Has 3.
Has 3.
1,
Exactly
2,
3?
3.
The average person has 3 social media accounts.
Well, first, I'm going to object to the framing of the question. Okay, it is vague and
Objection,
ambiguous
motion
and
to strike.
incapable of a reasonable definition. The answer is true.
False.
There you go.
The
That was for you
average
guys.
person has
That was just for you guys.
7.6 social media accounts. And I actually said I knew you were going to get that one wrong because he barely knows how to log on to Instagram or Facebook. I don't even think he knows how to comment. So if you're listening,
comment?
go out there and add Dayn to your, add Dayn as a friend. No, I'm just kidding. My dad has really come a long way with social media, but I knew he was going to get that one wrong.
Yep. All right, well, he still comes out in the lead there, but at least we got him once.
I'm glad I've made your day.
It's the little things these days.
This was a lot of hard work coming up with these questions, Dayn.
All right, Dayn, before we get into Dayn Holstrom and the Divorce Authority, let's hear some of our gruesome tales of divorce and get Dayn's opinion on the fact pattern. It's time for Divorce Wars.
This is Divorce Wars.
Well, there is so much wrong with that fact scenario. First off, when you say accounts, the court really doesn't have accounts for children. They make an order. Second, I don't know that you can enforce under family law a child support order that somebody voluntarily agrees to make, and I'm differentiating that from contract law. But in family law, there has to be a finding that this person has a legal obligation to support the child before you can do it. So we got lots of problems with the whole scenario where a judge would sign off on that order to begin with. Even if we got past all of those issues, which I think would prevent that from happening, if they lied in the agreement and said it was, his kid, or that he had legally adopted when they didn't, etc., then I think that the now purported father could set aside that ruling based upon the fraud committed by mother when she did not disclose and perhaps fraudulently affirmatively misrepresented that she was not getting support. Obviously, if she said I'm getting support, then I'm guessing the whole agreement wouldn't have happened. So short answer is I don't think that the husband and non-father would be legally obligated to comply with that agreement.
So what about this, Dayn? What if, kind of deviating from the fact pattern a little bit, what if there was two parents and two findings of parentage and there was a support order? Could the court order that both parents pay support for the same child?
Answer, I think that's where the law is going, because with the finding now under custodial law that you can have multiple parents, it's not just two anymore, then yes, when that happens, the court can in fact award support from or to multiple parents. And yes, I think we could see some really interesting twists in that area.
I agree. I absolutely agree.
Yeah, I agree too. And my 2 cents on this is don't double dip. It's not PC, and just don't do it.
Yeah, whenever you're going into an agreement and your idea is to commit fraud, it's probably not a good idea. It's probably not gonna go well for you.
Yeah, karma, it always finds you. And if you go into an agreement with the intent to deceive someone or something, it's not gonna end well, and it will bite you in the you-know-what.
Yeah, that's always the favorite part of a client intake is when they know that they're gonna ask you something that they really shouldn't be asking you, and they know it's wrong.
Right. And
they start with, well, would it be a good idea if I, and anything that comes after that is
not a good idea.
Yeah, whenever I hear a client tell me they have money in the Cayman Islands, I usually get up and go to the restroom at that point because I don't need to hear the rest of the conversation.
That's great. Well, we hope they live happily ever after divorce. All right, let's get into it, Dayn. Do you want to describe for our listeners a little bit about Divorce Authority and that podcast?
Sure. Yeah. As you mentioned, we just launched, and it's starting off being a broad-based view of divorce and family law. Everything from finding your lawyer and going through that process to the do's and don'ts of custody and child sharing, to more complex issues, financial asset division and support scenarios and things like that. But as we proceed, as we get further into it, it's going to get more and more granular with more defined, very specific issues and interests. So more complex one, high asset issues in division of assets or high earning support payers and those complex issues. So it starts out from a very high altitude view from 20,000 feet of the entire part of family law and divorce, and then we drill down into the very, very specifics of it.
And here's why that's so important for everyone listening, whether you have a family law issue or not, is there's so much information out there on the web, but there's not a lot of really factual information. There's not a lot of accurate and up-to-date information. And so this podcast seeks to do that. So you can Google and find pretty much any answer you want, but it's not going to be necessarily, and it probably isn't, good advice. So it's really, really exciting to think that there is a source and place that people can go to just kind of from A to Z figure out what issue and what answer they want to what question.
Mm-hmm. And I know, Dayn, that you've been talking about doing this for a while. We have a lot of conversations over the years about what do we do next. And I know this is something you've wanted to do, but what made you finally do it now?
Well, probably the catalyst was when we sat down and we wrote the Divorce 101 ebook. And that literally, I thought about doing it for 30 years and I ended up writing it in like 2.5 hours. It was just came out, and that's partly because it's bouncing around in there. And that really was the genesis of it, of saying, hey, we take this now, a summary of divorce and family law in our ebook, and we now can add chapters that are way more granular and way more detailed for people and give them specific information. But just a word of caution. First off, as you pointed out, there's a lot of stuff out on the internet, and some of it is absolute crap. And all of it is suspect, including what I say and what we say. And the reason I say that is we don't know your case. We don't know your scenario. We don't know the facts that we don't know. And so we're giving you situations and we're giving you common patterns, but there's no way that you should take what we talk about and apply it to your case without talking to a lawyer, without being circumspect of how your facts might be different than the scenario that we were describing, because it makes a world of difference under both the law and the application of the law in a factual setting. And so be careful. Be careful taking what we say and applying it to your life, haphazardly, or just taking, God forbid, something you read on the internet that comes from a non-lawyer and a non-trained professional that's talking about their life. You might find value in advice that they're giving you for your personal life and how you conduct yourself as a human being and a parent, and that's very, very cool. But for somebody who's not trained or experienced, particularly in a specific jurisdiction like California, whose laws are different than New York, etc., then you have to be really cautious about applying that as a way to conduct your case.
Right.
That's what becomes very, very scary.
Yeah, and it is such a good supplement, but it's a great point, and often people will, think that they read something online and that means, okay, so I'm supposed to follow this advice or that advice, and just like Dan said, that's not true. It still provides you with a good supplement and information to understand as a whole what's going on, but you may not understand how one very small fact could change an attorney's complete analysis of your case. It may seem like it's very analogous, but it's probably not. And that's why it's so important, like Dayn said, to call and get a consult with an attorney and kind of get into the intricacies of your case, and then supplement it with that information on divorce authority and look at it and know it and sleep on it and really get involved in your case. Kristen and I always say that it's so important for our clients to not only be educated in the fact pattern of their case, but in the process as a whole, because I think it helps establish expectations and helps bring everyone kind of to a better resolution.
Mm-hmm. And Dayn, back to Divorce Authority, does this podcast get to know you personally? Do you talk about life experiences that may have shaped you over the years of being a certified family law specialist for 30 years?
I talk about both hypothetical situations and real world ones that I've experienced over 30 years of doing this. Yeah, and I think you get to see me. I mean, there's moments when I caution listeners, hey, don't do this, okay? Don't do this, like we were just talking about. If you're thinking you shouldn't do it, you shouldn't do it. And things like that. Do not be the loudest one or the last one to talk in court, because now you're just obnoxious.
Right.
Just some human important things that are important to presenting your side of the facts. And then, of course, most importantly, always be in custody, for instance, always be child-centered. And I think you get that when I'm talking to people, because frankly, I feel like I'm talking to, even though when I'm talking to the camera, I'm talking to the microphone, I'm always talking to somebody. So.
And so someone who is thinking about listening to this podcast, who's your audience? You know, who is this geared for?
It's geared for anybody who's been in a relationship or had a child, which is a pretty broad group, because, again, we talk about co-parenting and custody. We talk about the divorce process. We talk about the presentation of evidence. We talk about the financial aspects of hiring an attorney in a law firm. The goods and bads about a relationship with a lawyer, the do's and don'ts for lawyers and for clients. Hey, if your attorney does this, run, stuff like that.
I think it's also good for people that are considering marriage and, you know, they are on the fence of whether or not they should go through with the marriage. I think if you listen to the Divorce Authority podcast, that you may rethink that decision.
God, that is so cynical. That is so cynical. Okay.
What do you expect?
No, I'm sorry. This is from a guy who's been married for 41 years, okay? And this is part of what you asked me earlier, and that is this. One of the things that I've learned from a divorce attorney is how to make bad decisions in a relationship and how to hopefully prevent some of those bad decisions from learning from literally the mistakes and the pitfalls of others in a relationship.
No, I agree 100% with that statement, because from the guests that we've had on, to Dayn, to Carrie, to the therapists that we've had on, and the relationship coaches, I learn a lot about things that I may do or hear or see, and I don't act the best way that I could have under those circumstances. So you don't have to be going through a divorce or a custody case to be listening to our show or to listening to Divorce Authority, because a lot of what we talk about is just how to be a better human being, how to be a better parent. I think that I've grown from this show, and when I go home, I try to implement a lot of the stuff that we learn and talk about. What about you, Sam?
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And I think it's really just a powerful forum for us all to talk about being human and getting better and being better as human beings.
I agree. So, Dayn, I know that family law, it kind of happened to you. But would you go back if you had the choice 20, 30 years ago? Would you pick family law again?
Boy, it's a tough question, because I'm an entrepreneur by nature. And I very much like doing different business things, and for a long time, even though I was good at it and I enjoyed doing it, I liked the relationship with the clients, I was very, very hesitant to define myself as a family law lawyer, even though I'd been doing it for 20 years. And somewhere about 10 years ago, I really just embraced it and said, this is what I do, and it's time to embrace it. And that's taken me to a much different level. So the short answer after that analysis, yes, I would have done it, and I probably would have embraced it much sooner.
I like that answer.
Yeah. Sam and I have embraced it, and...
Oh, yeah. Not going anywhere.
We eat, sleep, breathe custody. No, I was kidding. But, no, I like that answer, because, you know, Sam and I had a show a little while back, and we asked each other if we'd go back and choose law all over again. And I think most days I would, and other days I'm a secret CIA agent, or, you know, I am a SEAL
I'd like to live
team.
on a swamp.
Yeah, Sam wants to live in Arkansas on a swamp.
Okay, you're Kristen, you're on some reality show somewhere. Okay, that's what you're doing.
But I think that we all three would choose law again.
Yeah, it's interesting. When people ask me what I do for a living, I don't think I say attorney anymore. I think I always say family law attorney.
That's good. It's your identity. It's who you are. So, Dayn, if there's one more thing you want to tell our listeners about Divorce Authority, what is it?
1, we're available on all streaming platforms. 2, we will cover all aspects of family law and divorce in California. And 3, we're going to have fun doing that.
And if they have something, someone listening has a topic that they want you to do an episode on, how do they get that information to you?
They can reach out to me at divorceauthority.com or all social media platforms.
Awesome. So if you listening out there, if you have a special topic or something very specific that you want Dayn to cover on his podcast, Divorce Authority, make sure you go to divorceauthority.com, you fill out a form, you let him know, or you can find Dayn Holstrom on Instagram for Divorce Authority is his handle.
So I think we should actually pull from the CQ book. What do you think?
All right, let's do it.
I don't know if has Dayn participated in the CQ book yet?
I have not.
Oh,
This is an addition.
we have a first timer.
All right, so for all you people listening that don't know what our infamous CQ book is, it's about 1.5 inches thick with about 10,000 really random questions, and it's got a beautiful pink binding to make sure that Sam and I don't spill anything on it or rip it apart.
So we're gonna let Kristen pick a question for Dayn.
All right, and it's supposed to be random, but I kind of just skim real quick.
She's cheating.
All right, here we go. Question 1731. Dayn, what was your worst brain fart moment ever?
Moi? Goodness, I there's been a few of them. No, I always probably as an attorney, I guess, hasn't happened for a long time, folks. But I absolutely start when I recall arguing facts that were not in the case that I was in at the moment. I'm just on a roll and I'm arguing facts and I'm talking about the kids and there's only one kid and I'm getting in my head.
We've all done it.
Yeah, so that kind of a thing.
And the best part is sometimes the other attorney will kind of look at you like,
am I in the right case?
yeah,
Exactly.
and then they question whether or not they're in the right
You're
case.
doing so good and you're so persuasive.
There's been a few times where I've done that and the other attorney hasn't said anything.
It's been a really long time, but I did see Kristen do it one time, but it was actually so impressive because I think by the end of the argument, the client believed that they had 2 kids, and the court issued an order in our favor, and we're smiling, and I'm like going through the file going, I think there's only one child. But it worked out.
Oh, that was good. All right, Sam, you want Dayn, you ask Sam a question.
Uh-oh.
Pick a good one.
Yes, I will work for you forever.
Okay,
Try to get brownie for you.
1850.
Okay.
What type of contest do you think it would be fun to judge?
A contest? Oh, a baking contest. 100%. So I've been one of my favorite shows, and I don't know that anyone listening will join me in this, is the Great British Baking Show. This is a fabulous show. It's like the nicest critiquing of baking ever, and I can't bake, like, at all.
Okay, Sam can't cook.
No, I can't do that at all. But so I admire it. So to be in a position where someone cared what I thought about it would be great.
Considering that one of your favorite reality type shows is about cats,
Meerkat Manor.
I am not surprised that you would
It's not
love to
cats.
judge a baking show.
Meerkat Manor, that's another great one.
All right, Sam, you ask me one now.
All right. I literally already asked you that one. That's funny. Oh, this is a good Kristen one. Question number 1539. Have you ever stayed up for an entire 24 hours? If so, why?
Oh, definitely a few times. I don't know. There was one very recently. I was traveling home with my kids from Florida, and between the time change and waiting to the last minute to pack to come home with 3 kids and 7 suitcases and 2 strollers, and then I think I had been up for 22, 23 hours. So that was recently, but studying for the bar, law school, there's definitely been a lot of all-nighters.
I don't know that I've ever gone 24 total hours without at least an hour nap. I've gone where I've gone on very little sleep for a long period of time, but I don't know that I've actually got through a solid 24 hours.
I've definitely done it a few times. When we were in Texas at that seminar, I was real close to 24 hours.
I wasn't.
Sam left me at 10, and I was up till 3 or 4.
She's ready to get started studying, and I'm like, okay, but can I go to sleep real quick and just take a 5-hour nap?
That
That Texas seminar was really awesome.
It was, and what we're referring to is Sam and I, actually Dayn sent Sam and I
It was amazing.
to an advanced family law trial seminar that was in Houston, Texas, with some of the best attorneys across the country, and it was an experience of a lifetime. I was just excited to go and actually get alone time with myself for 10 days with no kids. I didn't realize what I was getting into until Sam and I got in the plane, and I opened this 5-inch binder of a full case that we were supposed to already have read.
It's like taking the bar exam for 14 straight days.
But being
It really is.
videotaped and having real judges and a Supreme Court judge critique your hair, the way you move your hands. If you I move a lot when I talk, my hands move, and you have to have real thick skin because these people are telling you what you're good at, what you're not good at, and you have to stand there and get this critique on video with about 20, 30 other attorneys there.
And then the best part is at the end of the whole thing, they send you like all 14 days of the video, and you should start at the best video first. But I mean, you see just such an incredible transformation. There's so many things that even in my head when I'm in court today that I just completely implement. It's been drilled into me in such a short time. That was amazing.
It was definitely a transformation for Sam and I. And so I wasn't happy that Dayn was making me go, 3-4 years ago, but it was one of those where Dad knew best, so I will give thanks to them.
We drank a lot of Red Bull.
Oh, coffee. It was disgusting the amount of coffee and Red Bull we were putting in us.
That's how you get circling back. That's how you stayed up 24 hours.
And that's one of my favorite stories where you drop the coffee.
I know. Okay, we'll save my coffee for another day. There's lots of spills. But I want to just ask like a personal question to each of you. Dayn, is there any good books that you've read lately that you want to share?
Yes. First off, I don't often read. I love audiobooks just because I'm in my car a lot and I'm traveling places. So reading in the context of an audiobook, yes, I really love this book that I'm into right now. It's called Lifespan by David Sinclair, PhD. And he's basically a clinical PhD in really, as he describes it, the disease of aging.
Wow.
And it talks about how your body basically wears down, but it gets granular down to the DNA level, and the discoveries that they've made and some of the improvements that they've made, that his hypothesis is that it will not be unusual within 100 years for human beings to live 150 years healthy, because it's not the cancer that kills us, or that may be what clinically, medically kills us. It's the degradation in your body that creates the opportunity for the cancer that then kills you.
Wow.
And it's an incredibly insightful book.
That's interesting.
That's a combination of medicine and science and the future of humanity, both good and bad. And so it's really cool.
Very interesting.
That is that's way more interesting. Well, no. The book I was reading was interesting, but that's way more grown up.
But I also reread Harry Potter at the same time. So
Harry Potter's a great book.
Right.
I love Harry. I think I could read Harry Potter's again.
All right, Sam. Any good reads on your end?
So once Kristen asked Dayn this, I was like, oh no, I haven't read any good books, but I have been reading the Family Code a lot.
And as we all know, that Sam will pop up, kind of in the bubble above my head. When I'm thinking of something, Sam pops up going, Family Code 2340.
It's a great book. It really is. The annotated one.
Yeah, that's what I read when I want to go sleep.
Yeah.
Okay?
And Sam knows it truly line by line.
I love that book.
All right, there's just one more question, Dayn, that I want to ask. When you were making the podcast and you were kind of seeing your vision come to light, was there anything that was really challenging through the process?
Yeah, there was. There's always a battle between, for me at least, from conveying my personal insights and thoughts and just really just streaming from the heart and the brain, just live and going, and give an organized presentation and presenting it in a manner that somebody can comprehend. Because when I just go from the heart, it's like, okay, we're going to talk about this. Oh, wait a second, but then there's this situation over here, and people may not be able to follow it. So that was challenging for me, and I rely on my great editors for being able to put it together so I can try to get the best of both worlds.
Yeah, I think Sam and I dealt with that a little bit too. It's a lot harder than you think, when you're asked to kind of sit and tell your story. For people like us that are attorneys and talk for a living, you think it'd be super easy, and it's almost like a deer in headlights moment where you have to learn and adapt and move forward. But now that you've seen your final product with your production team and your editors and the whole team that you have putting together the final product, Divorce Authority, how does it make you feel?
I feel good. I mean, it's a high quality production, and I think we've got a lot of real good content in there. And like I said, it's going to get nothing but better as we get into more and more detailed situations. And again, they're more nuanced, and I'm trying to put stuff out there for everybody who's gone through these situations or is going through these situations, just to give them insight, and that's the goal.
Well, I know it's going to be good. Sam and I can't wait to listen to it because I know that every time Dayn talks, I always learn something new.
Very
and
true.
He's got a great team behind him. And, make sure you follow their social media on Divorce Authority because they're going to be having giveaways and launch information and where you can find it, like Dayn said, on all streaming platforms. You can also, go on our Instagram and message Samurai if you forgot what Divorce Authority was, and we can help you out.
Absolutely. And if anyone has any questions, please feel free to call us at 1-800-419-7772. That's 1-800-419-7772.
And for anyone that is out there that wants to get a hold of Dayn, you can go on hbplaw.com or divorceauthority.com and you can send Dayn an email. So if you have a question about a divorce consult or you just have a question about his podcast, make sure you reach out to him directly, or you can go through us too. And I just want to thank everyone for spending their Saturday morning with us. This was so much fun, you guys. And again, way too fast.
And thanks for being here, Dayn.
You are most welcome. I would love to come back anytime.
And don't worry, everybody, he'll be back. We are actually taking CQ on the road, and we are traveling to Las Vegas, Sin City.
Cannot wait.
Make sure you join us in the upcoming episodes to see what Kristen and Sam do in Vegas. And Dayn will be joining us there too.
All right. And remember,
Let love rule.